What I Paul George is the last remaining active NBA player from the 2010 draft class, which to me is crazy. That's an absolutely crazy statement. Solely because of the fact that you have players from draft classes dating back to, I think maybe 2004 is totally wiped out at this point, but 2003 you got LeBron still playing in the league. Obviously he's an anomaly. 2005 you still have Chris Paul. 2006 you still have Kyle Lowry. 2007 you got a bunch of guys: Kevin Durant, Jeff Green, Mike Conley, Al Horford, and all of them are still playing at a pretty high level. All of them were on playoff teams except for Jeff Green, but the Rockets were competing, so still doing work. 2008 you got D Rose, Westbrook, Kevin Love, Eric Gordon, Brooke Lopez, DeAndre Jordan. 2009 you got James Harden, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Drew Holiday, Patty Mills. So I'm just kind of like trying to figure out, maybe there's no correlation. Maybe it's just a string of bad luck and injuries that hit all these guys in the 2010 draft class, because they certainly got hit with pretty bad injuries. I mean, John Wall was out for basically 2 seasons. DeMarcus Cousins tore his Achilles when he was on the Pelicans, and that, he was never really the same after that. Evan Turner had a ton of injuries and back issues. Gordon Hayward snapped his leg, the first game he was playing for the Celtics. It was like 5-6 minutes in, and he just totally just destroyed his leg. And he wasn't really the same after that. Xavier Henry, he had a ton of injury issues. Lance Stevenson kind of had some injury issues, but the point is that these are a lot of really good players, and it's unfortunate that all of them had such trouble with injuries. But it's just pretty crazy that you only have one guy left who's made it 14 years. I feel like in every draft class you at least have a handful of guys that are making it past 15 years. 2, 3, 4 guys making it past 15 years, and you just don't have that here. And frankly, who knows how much longer Paul George is going to play? I mean, he's still playing at a high level, but he's going to Philly now. He's not going to have as big of a role, probably, at least offensively, as he did in the past. He's probably going to be a spot-up guy, trying to make plays off of Joel Embiid or Tyrese Maxey, kind of getting attention. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, and maybe if he plays a little bit, not as downhill, he'll last, the length of his contract. But by the time he finishes his contract, he's going to be 38. So he has a chance to really outpace this draft class by a long shot. But it's funny because, well, I shouldn't say funny, but it's ironic because Paul George probably had the worst injury out of anybody in the draft class when he was playing at the it was the USA exhibition game in 2014, before they did the FIBA World Cup, and he went to block somebody's shot, and just like I said, Gordon Hayward snapped his leg. Paul George's injury makes it look like Gordon Hayward had a rolled ankle. Paul George legitimately snapped his leg at the half point up his tibia. Ridiculous. And I remember watching that and being yo, this guy's he's not coming back from this. And I guess that just speaks to how good of a player he is and how resilient of a guy he is, that I think he came back the next season. I think he played less than 10 games for the Pacers that following season, but still, and he came back and he didn't really put up numbers, but to just be able to play in a professional game after that is remarkable. But it's really crazy. I just saw the headline and I was like, really? He's the last one left? And before that, it was him and Gordon Hayward, which you still probably wouldn't have assumed. You would have assumed like, oh wow, like, these are two guys that are, late lottery in that draft class, but it feels like everyone else has like kind of been out of it for a long time. Like even when DeMarcus Cousins was still in the league, like he was backing up guys. Like he wasn't really starting, wasn't really getting great minutes. John Wall, the last time he played on the Clippers, wasn't really getting great minutes. And there's still an opportunity for John Wall to come back and play in the league. So maybe Paul George won't be the only guy from the 2010 draft class, in these next few years. But it's crazy. I was pretty shocked just to see that headline. But, Paul George is legit, bro. Like Paul George is the shit. Like he deserves to be in the league this long because he works very hard and he does what he has to do and he wants to win. He's not worried about getting stats or, all that other bullshit. Like he's kind of just like, he's probably one of, if not the best, like all around players in the league from just the standpoint of he's got size for the position he plays. At the wing, he's 6'8", 6'9". I think before people were saying he was like 6'10". He's super athletic. He can shoot from every spot on the court. He can take you off the dribble. He can defend. He's definitely the guy that should be in the league this long because he has every skill you would need. And he could be a star or he could be a role player. And he's just going to slot into wherever you need on his team. Which is why it's, I think everyone was super high on the Clippers because, not just because of Kawhi Leonard. I mean, I think Kawhi Leonard was coming off of obviously the best season he's ever had. He led a team that had never won a championship before to the championship. But Paul George is really the guy that brings it together because Paul George he's just, like I said, he's just all around. Like there's very few players in the league that are good at everything. There's no players in the league that are great at everything. But there's very few players that are good at everything with a few great qualities. And that's what Paul George is. Because he'll lock you up on defense and then he'll give you 30 on the other end too. So I'm rooting for Paul George. He's definitely still getting up there in age. He's probably entering the last chapter of his career. But, it would be nice to see him succeed and, get far in the playoffs and, play games on the biggest stage because, you hear it now, even with new guys coming up in the league. Like I think, Brandon Miller had said that his GOAT is Paul George. And I think Kyan Anthony or some other top high school prospect I was watching the other day was saying that Paul George is also like one of his top 3 players all time. So it's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that Paul George would be that guy to a lot of up and coming players, but he honestly is a great player role model for these young guys because it shows you that you should really work on everything because you never know what your team's going to need. So, Paul George, keep doing what you got to do. Hold it down. And show people that they shouldn't doubt you. Even though you had some crazy injuries and you're getting up there in age, just prove them wrong. You're in the city of brotherly love. Let it loose. Let it fly. Make some threes. Get far in the playoffs. I'm rooting for you. So, just like I'm rooting for Paul George, I want you guys to be rooting for me. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. Let me know what you want me to talk about next. Peace.